What's going on, world? It's Brother Sadaf, and we back with another important video.
Hello, family.
First and foremost, we want to say Raul back.
All back.
That's greetings in the Nawabic language. Today we have a very important video that we're about to discuss with you guys. It's a lot of important information. If you will, get a pen, piece of paper, write this stuff down.
Notes.
All right. This is written by Dr. Malachi Z. York, Freedom Master Teacher, 19th Elder. All right. So this is the Right Knowledge Series number 4, Breaking the Spell on the Blacks. All right. Coming forward to you from the Holy Tabernacle Ministry, for the rebirth, the elite few, the 144,000. All right, breaking the spell. Introduction. There is an evil hypnotic spell cast upon the Nubian people, melanated people, right? Everywhere, called King Gu. King Gu is the spell of sleep of the subconscious mind, or what is commonly known as the spell of Leviathan, which is enforced through religious propaganda that promotes scriptures such as the Bible and the Quran, also as undisputable sacred books. Religion itself is a spell. How? Religion is a spell because it keeps you thinking that someone is going to save you, when the helping hand that you're looking for, is at the end of your arm. All right? We gotta save ourselves. All right? Yeah, like you just said, it's right here. Okay? All right, where we at? Religion is a spell because it has you believing that you can't have anything of worth until after you unalive, when all you have to do is work for it. Religion is a spell because it condones people turning into bums, dropouts, and failures of society, when a steady income could solve most of your problems. Religion is a spell because it has you believing in spooks and ghosts, when those whom you were made in the image and likeness of were physical beings, okay? They're not these mythical beings that's just see-through and all this spookism. They actually were flesh beings, okay? Of high knowledge, of high technology, trillions and trillions of years ago, okay?
Just like us.
The spell of King Gu is also enforced through media, by establishing how you should look, what you should wear, how you should feel, where you should go, where you should work, how you should spend your money, and what you should eat. The spell of King Gu is also enforced through the public school system, by instilling in you since childhood the concept of 1, 2, 3. Everything is taught to you in threes: your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, your nouns, person, place, or things, the 3 little pigs, the 3 bears, etc. The spell of King Gu is in the mode of 1, 2, 3, or persons, places, and things. And there is not anything you can conceive does not fit in either one of these categories. Everything is in some way based on the number 3. For example, the 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. The Trinity: the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. The Bible, based on God, devil, humanity. Lifestyle concept: home, job, money in the bank. Sounds like everything we're bombarded with on a daily basis.
Every single day.
Right? With these 3 methods, religion, media, and schools, school or shul meaning hell. Yes, school means hell. Okay? So we're literally sending our kids to hell. All right? In the Arabic Hebrew language, you have been programmed from a very young age. You have learned not to question anything that is taught to you, not even the obvious contradictions or things lacking plain common sense. You don't go past what you are told. You are so caught up in the spell of King Gu that you're unable to come up with anything new. Everything you do or say has already been done or said many times before. That's why they say history repeats itself.
Over and over.
All right?
It's like
All these new dances that's coming out.
It's already been done.
Been done. All right. Who cast the spell of Kingu now? This is now we getting into very important meat. All of his meat, but this is getting into the depths of the spell. Who did it? All right.
Who put the spell?
This evil hypnotic spell of sleep was cast by Zu, Z-U, also known as Enzu, Zuan, Shakar, Kato, Devil, Iblis, Shaitan, Bolis, Nalush, Hadad, Ha-Satan, and Tarnush, the father of Halal. If you go back on our channel to our previous live videos, I broke down some of these beings. I did a video on Halal, Tarnush, and stuff like that. All right? The father of Halal, a Nakashite reptilian from the planet Titan called Saturn, which is not a planet. Zu cast this spell for Enki. Enki is one of Anu's sons. Anu is the Most High. All right? It's going to explain that in here. Enki, also known as, excuse me if I pronounce these words wrong, Nu Demud, founder of the city of Nod, who was master of Ki, the planet Earth. Enlil, Enki's brother, the sons of Anu, the heavenly one, had 7 tablets, right, in his possession, called the Scroll of All, which told of the coming of the elders. Zuan befriended Enlil and became his gatekeeper for the sole purpose of reading the tablets of destiny, the Scroll of All, or the Akashic Records. All right? The Akashic Records, that's what people say. This is how he found his way to his secret chamber, where the tablets were kept. Zuan stole the first writings of the tablets and all their destinies and changed what was to happen. So essentially, he rewrote the future. All right? The way this stuff is happening now was not supposed to be this way. Our destinies, everything was changed, rewritten. All right? He stole it. Took it. All their destinies and changed what was to happen. At that point, everything was at a standstill. The earth was void and dark. The Elohim were confused. And Enlil was left speechless. These beings that we were speaking of in the Bible, when it said, let us, these are the beings that weren't taught about in the Bible. Okay? The Most High had parents, he had kids, and so forth. These are these beings that were making all this stuff happen in the book of Genesis.
These are the ones that you consider was beside.
Yeah. All right. Enlil, whose name means divine of the heavens or the skies, ruled the skies and was the son of Anu, who is Allah or El Elo, of the Elohim Anunnaki, and master of the heavens and earth. You have the Most High, the Most Mid, and the Most Low. All right? Anu is the Most High. When Zuan got the tablets of destiny, he gave them to Enki, and together they conspired against Enlil. See, this is a family feud. Brother going against brother, right? The same stuff that's going on today. What happens? Brother against brother against sister. It's the same thing. There's nothing new being done. All right, because we're under that spell.
Family feud.
And the descendants of the Adamites, Enoshites, and Canaanites. Anu is our heavenly father, Abana. Whew.
I'm definitely going. So I feel y'all.
I got you.
All right. So with Zuan's help, Enki was able to cast a spell on the descendants of Enel. Not only out of jealousy and power conflict with his brother, as with the stories of Cain and Abel and Jacob and Esau
from the Bible,
but as a spell that could be used to control the procreated beings that will work for the Elohim Anunnaki. Those beings who Anu sent from heaven to, that's key, right?
Key, yeah.
In the gold mines of South Africa.
Then called Raphael.
Referred to the birth ceremony scroll. They were able to execute this spell by making that which was bad look good, and that which was good to look bad.
It speaks about that in the Bible.
Mm. They also created the Bible, which is a fabrication of the Babylonian text from the original 7 tablets called
Enuma Elish
and the Gilgamesh Epics.
Gilgamesh Epics.
I heard Gilgamesh.
Huh?
Gilgamesh. Ain't that in that TV show?
Yeah.
Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh Epics and Enuma Elish. The Bible was taken from these texts, okay? That predates the Bible by many, many years. The Enuma, I'll repeat these again. The Enuma Elish and the Gilgamesh Epics. You can find both of these in the Holy Tablets written by Dr. Malachi Z.
That buried the belief in a book that Yahweh Tammuz, meaning sprout of life, the son of Ishtar and Damuzi, along with the council of 46 Anunnaki,
plagiarized.
For the seed of Seth, Tammuz did not create it. He made it easier. This is
we getting into the nitty gritty.
Hence came the enchantment called religion. Or as the Mohammedans say in Islam, then, which is the worship of the goddess Dina, also known as Ishtar, Sen, Nana, etc. At first, Zuan was conspiring with Enki to cast the spell on NLC. However, Zuan had an ulterior motive.
All right, so basically, people got together to conspire to cast a spell on Enlil's people, the Nubian people, right? But in turn, Zuan did a flip. He had his own motives behind what he did. Watch what he did.
Bro, you went to no. My hand to the Salakia, y'all.
At first, Zuan was conspiring with Enki to cast the spell on Enlil's seed. However, Zuan had an ulterior motive. He wanted to find out his destiny. Pay attention. Because in his heart, he wanted Enlilship, meaning control over the little skies. Then Zuan turned against Enki and cast a spell on Enki's seed also. So both brothers got the spell cast on them. You good? The adverse spell is also in the atmosphere itself, because Leviathan, which is broken down as Levi, Law, Athen, Sin, Law, and Sin, emanates it. It is the ghost spell or gospel of spiritual ignorance and racial blindness. And the only way this opium-like hypnosis can be destroyed is by right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, working with nature and its atmosphere of the new sun cycle, the revolutionary cycle, because right knowledge, wisdom, and understanding produce right thinking. And right thinking causes us to follow the right way to liberty and equality. Through right words and right works, right knowledge is truth, and truth is the best. Knowledge, therefore, if information is the best knowledge, then the best knowledge is right knowledge. What is keeping you spellbound? Now, this is why still to this day, we're still in this state. Part of the evil spell that has a hold on you are negative spirit forces within the oppressed sent there by Leviathan. And this means, although those negative spirit forces are within the captives, they are enemies of the captives, and thereby working against the captives by compelling the oppressed to do the very things that they are against the oppressed, and the rise from their bondage. It is a very depressive position for a race of people to be in, having forces within the self constantly working against the self and kind. This force is called Ra'ah, the disagreeable or the negative side of will. Genesis 3:22. But that is the position of the oppressed. And the only way to destroy the negative forces that maintain that position is to destroy the negativism, ignorance that those forces live and strive on. The acceptance of right knowledge is the solution, but that leads to right thinking, and right thinking leads to right action. Nubians or new beings do not just read the scroll and the others of the right knowledge series, but study them also, because these scrolls are dedicated and designed to offset and help destroy the negative Negro and captive mind amongst you. Right knowledge organizes and unifies the minds of Nubians individually and collectively. If knowledge is not to be confusing and thereby effective, then it must be in sequence. Knowledge received must be in an organized sequence in order to put the mind in order and unity. One purpose of these scrolls is to help organize and put the minds of Nubians in unity, and in order enough to qualify for our own effective spiritual science called the Wabu. It will clear the fog, and your single eye will reopen. Clairvoyance, clear vision, will return, and you will see again. Nuwabu and the forces and powers thereof are liberty, equality, justice, rightness, and proper survival for Nubians everywhere. Nuwabu and the powers that make it effective and binding are the equalizers for Nubians in all fields of necessity and endeavors in which other races offer contest. The liberation forces for Nubians are not their God, their Jesus, their Lord, their Christ, nor the spirit power names of any other race. The liberation forces of Nubians are nine ether, whose scientific name will be disclosed in our science Nuwabu. Nine ether is the original creative forces that made these scrolls possible. What is Negro mentality? Oh yeah, we digging deep today. Negro mentality is negative mentality, a captive mentality. A Negro, negative, or captive mind is one, regardless of how free you think you are, that knows no more or little more than what the albino seed has written for public reading and spoken for public hearing, and no more or little more than what the Canaanite and or their helpers have taught. This is what I call synthetic education, which breeds a synthetic mind. You don't have a mind of your own. Your teacher is holding their translation or the scripture he is teaching you from, or relate you to their books to cheat me, your reformer, Dr. Malachi Z. York. So these teachers are really enforcing the evil teachings, and the results of the ghost spell are negative and captive mentalities, full with physical captives. It's a lot of reading, y'all.
Would these all right? When you said will these scrolls really help? Question.
Yeah, just be kind of sensitive about the words that you're reading. You know, this is for humanity. We don't want to step on anybody's toes. With racism, nobody wins, all right?
Facts.
That's one thing that the master teacher always taught.
All right. Just if a person has a
Negro,
negative
or captive mentality.
all right,
You feel me?
I got you. These scrolls will help him or her get rid of it, provided the person not just read and study the scrolls and accept the facts therein inherent. Fa- Facts can be rejected, but they cannot be disproved. Those of you who shall survive Armageddon, the showdown between Tobe, that's agreeable, right?
Yeah.
And Ra,
To you.
two agreeable, and Ra disagreeable, will accept these facts and stick to them. The Canaanites did not and will not teach others besides themselves.
Also, before he starts reading, we're going to do videos breaking down these different nations so you can understand who these people are.
Any real knowledge about universal powers and forces which will enable others to rule themselves, moreover, other races, are not going to give woolly-haired people real universal knowledge, because a real spiritual and universal knowledge is where real ruling power is found and exercised.
Take your time, brother.
Power talking
It's
about.
what it's all about, learning and growth, man.
Question. Are we to adhere to any teachings of
Pause, you messed it up. Are we to adhere to any teachings of the Canaanite, being that we are not taught right knowledge?
Yes. For the time being, it may be permissible for the Canaanites to teach occupational knowledge, jobs, and trades, along with the mathematics, works, and subjects that no one can be deceived with.
All right, pause. So, yeah, follow, jobs, trades, things that they can teach you. That's can help you. You feel me?
That benefits you.
All right.
But not subjects like history, religion, origins, etc.
Right.
Because the Canaanites will not and sometimes cannot give others the facts about these subjects. The Canaanites know and teach certain occupation, jobs, and trades according to present day standards. And mathematics is a universal science which speaks for itself. But what can they teach anyone about morals and the best way of life when they are those who destroyed the real knowledge, morals, and the best way of life by suppressing and murdering darker peoples, lying to divide others, and creating ignorance and stealing other people's lands, cultures, and natural resources? That is other people's heritage. The Canaanites never did and never will give others true spiritual and universal knowledge, because much of it they do not know themselves, and what they do know is kept amongst themselves, so that they may continue to rule the ignorant and the poor.
Will education free us? No. Occupational, professional, and technical knowledge you need and should have, but you need more than that in order to be free and equal again, and having ruling power. Occupational, vocational, professional, technical knowledges are not sufficient to eliminate Negro negative and captive mentality. One is one which is void of real universal knowledge. Knowledge about time, the origin of universes, stars, planets, satellites, origin of oceans, mountains, vegetation, time and origin of races, cultures, and what each race is supposed to represent. Negro mentality is void of its own true spiritual science, and the powers which maintains a race's spiritual sciences are those that create a race's culture, makes its history, and directs its way of life. Therefore, if a race does not have its own true spiritual science, it is void of what is necessary to make it free and equal. In your case, Nuwabu is your true spiritual and universal science. All right. Who is our true teacher? Your true teacher. Your true teacher is one that can give you the universal knowledge that informs you about the governing codes and cycles of all existences and living beings, mankind's of spirit forces, and the ones that are for or against whom. Real knowledge must answer the knowledge questions: when, where, what, who, how, why, and nature of. That is, whom a thing is for or against. The Son of Righteousness, the writer of the scrolls entitled the Right Knowledge series, is qualified by the forces of nature to receive and disclose universal knowledge, unveil the past, emphasize the present, and give a blueprint of the future. What I, Dr. Malachi Zia, write is meant to destroy the barriers between the woolly haired people and their spiritual science and heritage in general. Universal forces cannot beneficially and effectively work for you and with you as long as so many minds among you are so negative. Because negative minds attract negative forces, and those negative forces destroy you and cause you to destroy yourselves. You need a positive mentality to offset the negative. Then you will have the brain power necessary to identify yourselves with the universal forces, and they will help you to liberty, equality, and justice. When the Canaanite meets someone who does not believe in their God, that is, ghost, he calls that person an atheist. There are two kinds of spirit, ghost and ether. Therefore, if a person is not of ghost, that is God, he or she must be of ether. Hence, he or she is called atheist by the Canaanite. Atheist and etherists have the same original or etymological meaning, not God or not of God, because if one was originally created by ether instead of ghost, that person by nature is not God and not of God. A person originally created by ghost can and most likely will become of God and created by God mentally during the cycle of their God, the moon cycle. The beginning letter of ether was A instead of an E in ancient times. What are cycles? There are four cycles, two moon cycles and two sun cycles, which each consist of 6,000 years. The second moon cycle, which lasted 6,000 years, has ended. Just before the end of each ruling cycle of nature, a male person is authorized and appointed by the forces of nature to determine and is closed to the people, especially those of his own kind, the hidden past, the changing present, and ruling future. The moon cycle was the climax and final phase of the evolutionary cycle, which lasted 17,250,000 years ago. Therefore, since the end of the moon cycle is also the end of the evolutionary cycle, the cycle of mankind, it is now the evolutionary cycle, which means, no, excuse me, it is now the revolutionary cycle, which means an evolutionary reverse. It was necessary for the forces of nature to select from among the oppressed a woolly haired Ethiopian, a descendant of Ptah, nine ether, and qualify, authorize, and appoint him to manifest the knowledge of and ruling the beginning, present, sun cycle of the outer world with Absu, not to be confusing and thereby ineffective. Being the son of the inner world, Shemesh is called the son of righteousness in Malachi 4:2. All right, it's got different translations here. Let me get to the correct one. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. Now, now look at this righteousness is Zodok, found in the book of Malachi. Malachi Zodok, excuse me. The messenger of Revelations 1:1. The angelos, angel is messenger. And Malachi 4:5, Elijah, which is short for an Elohim of Yahuwah, is an angelic being who will prophesy to you before the end. Just as there are forces that can foretell the future, there are forces that can tell you about the past. And Malachi Zadok, also called Marduk in the Babylonian text, and Amur Utu in ancient Sumerian tablets, the son of Enki, who is the son of Anu, your Allah, El Elo, Jehovah, or God, has access to all forces necessary to retrace, and foretell. And this fact made these scrolls possible. You can acquire more information on this subject by joining the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek. When authorized and woolly haired Ethiopian. Oh, am I reading the same? No, let's see one, but you sure?
No,
1 second, because literally
you just did it twice.
same thing.
Yep, it did it twice. I have 2 pages or something. Yep, that's what I did.
appointed by the forces of nature, is given connection and access to powers of the sun and moon and powers of Ki, the planet Earth. That he may take his place in the sun, meaning in universal affairs. All of his kind who are able to learn, understand, and accept universal knowledge and facts as disclosed by nine ether will also be given the same connections and powers of realization and maintenance of liberty, justice, equality, and rightness, and survival beyond Armageddon, the war of the showdown between right and wrong. I am able to distinguish between what is for Nubian Ethiopians and that which is against him and her. Ghost God, the spirit of the Canaanite albino seed, represents unaliving for Nubians and is thereby against Ethiopians. Nine Ether, the spirit of Ethiopians, represents life, and of course, life and unaliving are opposites, just as Ethiopians and Canaanites are opposites. The purpose of anything and everything written in this scroll is to help destroy the Negro negativity and captive mentality, so that woolly haired people everywhere may have and exercise free mind and equal mind, and thereby enjoy freedom and equality. Because if a person has a free mind, he will do free things. And if a person has equal mind, he will do equal things. Scrolls like the Right Knowledge series are designed to open the way to a spiritual and mental revolution because there can be no change in racial status for Nubians as a whole without first changing in mental powers and spiritual forces. The same old spirit forces and same old minds will maintain the same old system. Although the ways and means of maintaining the old system may change, it will be the same old system still as long as the same old minds and the same old spirits prevail, because the same old system is the nature of them. All right, guys, we're gonna have to make this a part two. This scroll is 62 pages, and we have a guy that's holding the phone, so we're gonna have to cut this short, guys. But if you want to do read on your own, it's called "The Breaking the Spell" by Dr. Malachi York. You should be able to find it online. I'm going to put the link in the bottom of the description of this video. Other than that, guys, stay tuned for more information.
Stay tuned.
Go check out the music. The new album, "I Shook Land," is on the way.
Working on.
We just dropped a lot of new music videos on the channel.
Please check them out.
We're gonna do a lot more of these teachings. A lot of new things coming to the channel, guys. Stay tuned. Brothers, definitely love y'all. Gone.
Go.